Hello and thank you for stopping by. This is Werewolf, The Last Warrior for the NES, published by Data East in 1990. I had this game when I was younger, but all I really remembered was the yellow label and the cartridge graphics. I picked up a copy and texted my older brother. He replied, "I remember that game, wasn't it terrible?" I don't think it's terrible, but it is something that gave me some serious difficulty on the first level. On paper, I think the game seems to have all the trappings of a great game, but it falls short for sure. Mostly I think that's due to the lack of certain mechanics or planning. First, let's talk about the story. Apparently, the planet has been captured by evil Dr. Farian and his group of biomonsters. I know the planet is a pretty big place, so I'm guessing his army must be impressive. According to the introduction story, only one man has the power to stop Farian. The quote on the screen is, "Werewolf is all that stands in the way of the destruction." Not a man who becomes a werewolf, not the werewolf, but apparently his name is Werewolf. I don't know, I'm guessing this is just a language translation problem on the introduction text. This game does some pretty good things. It's not all bad. First, just turn on the game and watch it. They actually give you a story before you start the game. You get a bit of cinema. Great, that's awesome. Let's talk about you first, the werewolf. So, you play most of the game as the werewolf, and as you're walking around you're going to notice you have hands. But when you punch or climb, you suddenly don't have hands anymore, and instead you have these long claws in place of your hands. You'll also see this in various story images as well. It's weird looking to me, but at least we can say it's different. They're trying something new. Okay, so we start the game, and you're going to just be standing there, and suddenly this guy's going to appear. It's a spirit, apparently, saying he's going to guide you on your quest. Okay, great, spirit, no problem. At this point, though, I can't help but notice how you're dressed. So, you basically look like Conan the Barbarian. You have no shirt, you got a beefy chest, you got no shoes. Nothing here portrays modern society, and that's where the game takes place. I mean, the sprite looks good on screen. I mean, it is kind of reminiscent of Simon from Castlevania, just I guess with less clothes on. It just seems odd looking for the game, but it looks good enough. So, now a beefy guy drops from the sky in front of you, and suddenly we have a boss fight. Alright, I guess it's a little odd to start a game with a boss fight, but games have done this from time to time, so I guess it's no big deal. This guy looks like an oversized wrestler from the 80s, and all he does is walk towards you. He might try to punch you or headbutt you, and then he's going to jump every now and then. Now, you're in your human form, you can punch him. You can press the A button to punch or B to jump. If you hold the A button in your human form, after a second you'll start to glow. If you release the button, you can shoot an energy bolt. You can walk up to this guy, or you can shoot him from a distance. I usually just walk up to him, and I punch him once or twice, and then he's going to try to hit you. So hit him twice, back off, maybe go in for another hit. This isn't a tough boss, and eventually you're just going to beat him, and he'll drop a red W. Red W icons are what transform you into a werewolf. If the W is blue, it will turn you back from a werewolf to human. If you're already human and touch a blue W, you will take damage. Okay, now you become a werewolf and you're treated to the transformation animation. It's pretty nice. I mean, it's a cinematic transformation. This is a good idea. I'm all for it. Then we head to the right and hit the first level. Alright, we're walking through a forest. This is where it gets a little weird. Every now and then, a random branch just starts tumbling through the air towards you. It's just an object. It's awkward and you have to dodge it. Looking at it, it almost seems like it doesn't fit. It's just weird looking. Also, there are these weird bunches of grass that sort of try to grab you. They look ridiculous. Just jump over them. You're also going to be treated to random boulders that bounce after you for some reason. You can dodge them or press A to smash them. Now, this level isn't that long, or this part of the level isn't that long, and as you walk through the forest, eventually, a random ninja is going to drop from the sky and run towards you. I don't know where this ninja came from. I don't know why he's in this game. I thought we were supposed to be fighting bioweapons. You're also going to notice an abnormal amount of signs on this level, and they all say, "Don't knock." I have no good explanation or excuses for why these signs are there. They look weird. When you get to the end of the forest screen, and it isn't very long, you're treated with the first problematic mechanic, or basically I think it's just a failure of the game design here. There are some stone columns, and there's a gap between a group of these columns, and it drops off the bottom of the map. We've been progressing so far in this game from left to right, but now, apparently we need to drop down. Okay, fine, so we drop down. The problem I have now is that this has set up an expectation in this game. and this states you can drop down to lower levels. Okay, this is going to be a big deal when the very next time I see a hole and I try to drop down, I immediately die. That's very frustrating. You're going to see these random pedestals throughout the game. I don't know why they're there. They don't seem to fit with the modern stylings of the game, but you have these pedestals. If you hit the pedestals, they might reveal a power-up of some kind. So the werewolf movement mechanics, when you're in wolf form, they're pretty good. You can climb up the sides of walls, you can also hang from pipes or walls using your claws. Also, if you press and hold the A button for a few seconds, you raise your arms above your head and you do this area damage thing. But when you do that, it drains your health. I personally think it's kind of a waste here, but I guess it's good that you have it just in case you need it. You have extra jump height available to you as well. You can press the jump button and I think you hold it a little longer and it jumps high. Honestly, it's a little confusing to get that height out of it. I struggle with it just a little bit. The hanging mechanics, they're a little clunky. Kind of hard to manipulate sometimes. You have to jump up to a pipe and you gotta press your fire button at the right time. I think it's the third screen where there's this odd area that you can jump to get onto a pedestal. But the path for actually getting to that pedestal, they're just really hard to navigate. We're talking about level 1, and they have something that's in a position where you're probably going to die a whole bunch of times if you can manage to get to it, and it might not actually have any value. Then we're a little further in the level here, and you're going to get yet another mini-boss, and it's going to be just a copy of that wrestler you fought when you started the game. After him, you're in some underground lair. When we're in this lair, now we're suddenly fighting henchmen, and now the game sort of changes a little bit, and it suddenly feels like the game Rolling Thunder. The enemies kind of look and feel the same as that game. It's just, we had ninjas on level 1, we have these guys on this part of the game. I mean, it's just weird, it seems misplaced. This is also where the game introduces something that I find particularly frustrating: ladders. You can't jump off a ladder midstream. You also can't jump up on a ladder and grab it. You have to start at the bottom of the ladder or the top of the ladder. That's a complete hassle. It would save so much time on some of these levels, and the game has a time limit. It is not a forgiving game if you're new to it. The first ridiculous puzzle that I ran into, I guess it wasn't even really a puzzle, there's these electrical fields. Talk about a confusing pattern. Little electricity flickers and it comes down and it connects these two pins. And there's a whole bunch of them. I found myself getting killed here non-stop before I went looking online to figure out what I was doing wrong. You can't just get zapped by electricity and then run your way through it. You have to do the whole thing over. It's ridiculous. I got so frustrated, I went online to see how it was done, and then I realized there was a total backflip animation that I was completely unaware of. If you turn backwards and press A and B together, you're going to do this back handspring. Glad I looked at a video online and checked the manual. It gets you through the electricity immediately without a scratch. The levels go on in this game, and some of them are actually pretty varied. I was surprised to see where they started taking the different levels. When we finally get to stage 2, we're sort of in a city, and you go into the sewers. That's okay. You get a little further than that, and you're actually up on skyscrapers, where you're navigating around between girders. It's a nice change, and it's an unexpected sort of way to change your levels. So we've got some good graphics, but we've got some odd enemies, and we've got some weird mechanics that I feel like if they spent a little more time doing the basic stuff, making sure the ladders are working correctly, making sure you don't have these weird-looking, out-of-place enemies, that might have helped this game a lot. I know there are weird game mechanics here, there are oddball creatures that show up, and your enemies are kind of strange sometimes, but there are some things that are pretty good about the game. I mean, the animations, the cinematics that they're trying to perform here are pretty good. Your character sprites for the werewolf look really good as well, and the music in the game is really decent for an NES game. I'll go as far as to say it's actually possibly great. But it's hard to enjoy this music when you're struggling figuring out how to jump somewhere, or stick to a wall effectively, or how to backspring through electricity. It's just weird that the game is difficult in some places where it doesn't need to be. It seems to me maybe just a little more playtesting, or a little more analysis of how the game actually flows in the little ways would have made this a lot stronger. Well, that's all I have for the NES game Werewolf: The Last Warrior. Thanks for giving this one a look, and I'll catch you next time.